Look, I'm scared too, okay? I'm scared. You can see it in my eyes. But you got to trust me. I'm here for you. I'm here for you.
While his classic sitcom Martin is probably Martin Lawrence's most beloved contribution to the culture, it's his 1996 directorial debut, A Thin Line Between Love and Hate, that solidified him as a GOAT in my household. A Thin Line Between Love and Hate is one of my absolute favorite movies of all time. Right up there with Bridget Jones' Diary, Paid in Full, Brown Sugar, and Who Can Play That Game. And because I'm the kind of consumer you want to have on your team, I put my money behind what I love. So I own A Thin Line Between Love and Hate, and I run that movie into the ground. You hear me? This movie lives in my mind so rent-free that when one of my friends got a great job the other day, my first thought was to buy her a Lalique to signify she was now a rich bitch.
This is Lalique.
Like our main antagonist, but true victim, Brandy, played by the incomparable Lynn Whitfield. Whenever I want to watch a movie that I know is going to entertain me from beginning to end, I throw on A Thin Line Between Love and Hate, because Martin Lawrence's Darnell was hilarious, and he also deserved everything he got. You heard me. Darnell was the villain in that movie for 95% of the runtime. But forget that. All because Brandy had to get a little bit carried away trying to murder him. Oh, no man, seriously, Lynn Whitfield's Brandy falls victim to the same fate as Taraji P. Henson's Melinda in Acrimony, which is because their response to their mistreatment, which to be clear, was attempted murder, is so disproportionate, they get written off as crazy and in the wrong, so they become the villain, and the men that abused and or took advantage of them miraculously transform solely into victims. But no, baby. While like Darnell obviously don't deserve to die for their particular crimes against women, I would argue that we live in a world that doesn't believe there should be any consequences for men deliberately deceiving women so that they can have sex with them, or financially or emotionally exploiting women in other ways, because we don't think there's anything wrong with men doing this to women. We train boys and men to do this and call it game, and we ridicule women as stupid when we're the victims of the tricks men were taught to play on us. We convince ourselves and each other that men who've been taught to finesse, manipulate, run game on, and play women only do it to women who aren't truly deserving of being treated with respect, who aren't the one, so that their abuse of women never disqualifies a man from being a good man, because that conduct is the fault of those women, because men would do right by those women if they were the one, truly worthy of their respect or smart enough not to get tricked. It's that flawed and deeply misogynistic cultural understanding that's not only responsible for why women become pick-me's.
Pick me, choose me, love me.
It's why halfway through A Thin Line Between Love and Hate, the audience is expected to receive Darnell, a man who has been consciously and consistently deceiving numerous women in the name of sex and misogyny since the beginning of the film, as a good man.
I absolve you of your sins. You have been forgiven.
Because he wants to commit to Mia, the wholesome girl next door played by Regina King. And if you need another Black 90s movie example of how that cultural belief that a good man can dog countless women alongside his true love for a respectable good girl, just look at The Best Man, where we're expected to see football player Lance and his politically respectable Mia as true love, destined for a marriage rooted in God and meant to go the distance, despite Lance consistently cheating on Mia with every woman under the sun, lying to her, breaking his promises, and expecting loyalty and subservience from her. Or Harper getting engaged to Robin after spending the entire weekend trying to sleep with his friend Jordan. But we're supposed to see Darnell as a suddenly reformed overnight player who wants to settle down with good girl Mia, and Brandy is a crazy woman scorned. Never mind the fact that the entire time Darnell was pursuing Mia, he is a gaggle of other women and actively and aggressively pursuing and lying to Brandy. So again, I say, no, baby. Multiple things can be true, and they are true. Can you kill a man for deceiving you so he can you and discard you? Not lawfully? But we can't just start and end the conversation on whether her reaction was wrong. Obviously, we know it is. But we need to talk about the actions that led to that reaction and just how and why they were so wrong. It's taken 20 years, but today we get justice for Brandy because she and millions of other women deserve better than the Darnells of the world. Roll the theme song, Aaron.
Black independent, strongest in women. It's Olay, it's Olay, it's Olay, it's Olay now. I know that I'm worth it, so make sure to listen. It's Olay, it's Olay, it's Olay, it's Olay.
The moment the movie begins, the very first thing we learn about Darnell right from the horse's mouth is that he had the gift of gab. Meaning, he had the gift of bullshitting women all day long. Flim flammer, dream seller extraordinaire. As Martin Lawrence is narrating, he takes us on a journey through each of the many bitches on his roster that he lying to and making false promises to, including a woman with children.
Won't somebody please think of the children?
Played by the iconic Wendy Raquel Robinson. The thing we need to understand about Darnell and like Darnell is that they are in it for the love of the game. And the love of the game only. In fact, you would save yourself a lot of pain and heartache if you internalize that the only thing they do love is the game. Not you or any of the other bitches that you think you run in competition with. Them are purely Pokemon catchers trying to catch them all.
We out here on this Pokemon Go about to catch these hoes.
Darnell is one of those who just enjoys being a slick talker and a game runner.
Are you lost, baby girl?
He is the kind of who quite literally defined himself by his gift of gab. He's them who start flirting with any and everybody because it's their first instinct whenever they see a gal is to just see if they could try to talk out of drawers. And we all know them kind of who literally run game on everybody they meet, whether they want the person or not. They just practicing, trying to keep their instinct sharp. Listen, that right there is my boy Nigel. Okay, look here. All Nigel is do is lie to gals for no reason at all. Lies that don't make no kind of sense, absolutely no rhyme or reason to the lies, just because he enjoy lying. Nigel is send gals pictures of him with me and CJ dogs and say they his dogs.
Why the fuck you lying?
Like, what kind of lie is that? Why would you tell that lie? That's what you would be asking yourself if you tried to make sense of it. But I keep trying to tell y'all, some literally just enjoy seeing what they could get off. That's Darnell. So, we're informed at the gate that Darnell is a player who has one sister who was raised by a single mother and works at a club called Chocolate City that's owned by a named Smitty but managed by Darnell and his boy T, who was played by Bobby Brown. Although Darnell do not own that club, that does not stop him from moving like he does and using his ability to get gals on the VIP list to flex like he's that and sell women dream. So, where does Brandy fit into this man's bullshit?
Wrong answer, forehead.
Trick question. The answer is she doesn't. Darnell's wicked ass spots Brandy as she is heading to her limo where her driver is waiting on her near where Darnell and T's raggedy ass establishment was. T first tries to holler at her in an abrasive and disrespectful manner. So when she rebuffs his advances, it creates the perfect opportunity for Darnell to swoop in like he's the good guy defending her honor. These was playing good cop, bad cop on the spot without any preparation. Because like I have already explained, game is all these no, they ready at a moment's notice. So when Darnell tries to apologize on behalf of T, not because he actually disapproves of T's behavior, but so that he could make this woman believe that he's the kind of man who disapproves of T's behavior, Brandy not only ain't going for it, she makes it clear exactly what kind of gal she is from the jump.
He just, fell on his head as a baby, so he's just been a little rattled ever since.
I see. Well, maybe I should arrange for him to fall on his head again so he can get unrattled.
But as is the case with all with an ego, that don't deter Darnell no kind of how. In fact, that's the kind of shit he like. A challenge.
Ooh, that's what I like. That's what I like. Ooh, that's what I like. Now we can start.
So Darnell tries to use his Chocolate City VIP list to impress this obviously rich and highfalutin woman by inviting her to come to the club later. She isn't interested, but he slips the VIP pass in the car just as she's sliding the window up on him. She then drives away, unaware that she is a target that man just acquired. So when she makes the mistake of letting curiosity or boredom get the best of her and showing up to Chocolate City later that night, even though she continues to pay Darnell dust, for Darnell, the game has officially begun.
And may the odds be ever in your favor.
It don't matter that she curved him when they first met him. As far as Darnell was concerned, the fact that she showed up at the club mean...
Got him!
I telling y'all, as soon as Darnell saw her ass walking there, he say to himself,
Got him. We fucking got him.
So not only is the game begun, the stakes even higher, because he's not just trying to swing this woman so he could her to affirm his own masculinity and gift the gab. He's also trying to win a dick measuring contest with T, because T bets him that he can't bag her, because T trying to protect his own masculinity since he couldn't pull off. So now these grown ass are standing together betting on whether or not he'll be able to successfully manipulate this woman into sleeping with him without having to tell her he loves her. Because for these men who are invested in sleeping with as many women as possible, it's not about women or any real desire or sexual desire to be with them. It is about affirming their masculinity both to themselves and other men who see value in their perceived ability to conquer women, to trick women, to manipulate women, which is why they ain't impressed that a woman sleeping with a man because she believed he loved her because he told her he did. They want to swing women. That's what they're impressed with. Men who can swing women. Which is why the bet is not about whether Darnell can get into a relationship with Brandy, whether she could fall in love with him, or whether they'd sleep together at all. It's specifically about whether he can get her to sleep with him without having to tell her he loves her. Not only is the bet fundamentally about getting this woman to do something she didn't want to do, because the bet only exists because she rejected Darnell, but it's all illustrative of a pervasive misunderstanding about men, women, sex, and love that undergirds the entire rape culture we all unfortunately live in. Let me explain. What T is ultimately saying when he proposes this wager and tells Darnell, man, you're gonna have to tell her you love her to get it, is that he does not believe that this woman would have sex with Darnell. And if she did have sex with him, it would only be as an exchange for his promise of love. And Darnell is outraged at the suggestion because that's the one thing that they, the players, don't do. They don't love these whores.
No, you know that's our code. Never tell them you love them.
This exchange between T and Darnell as they haggled over the terms of the bet revealed so much about not only how they think about sex, love, men, and women, but how society does. Darnell's earlier actions and conversations with T already showed us that they were the kind of men who measured men's value by their masculinity, and they measured their masculinity by how many women they can have sex with. But T and Darnell's exchange whilst making the bet revealed that they see sex as something to be finessed from women, not done with women. It's not just good enough to sleep with women. The terms of the sex matter too. They need to feel like they beat these women in a game, and a win requires that only their needs be met, which is why the terms of the bet hinge on Darnell getting sex without Brandy getting love, because we're taught to believe that women want love and men want sex, which is not true. Both men and women desire love and sex, but because we're raised with these gendered marching orders where women are only free to openly desire love or risk being ostracized as a slut, and men are only free to desire sex or risk being ostracized as a pussy, we all fall in line, and our conformity becomes proof of truth. But it's not the truth. It's actually a really dehumanizing constraint that hurts us all. Because the problem isn't just that everyone's walking around believing that women want love and men want sex. The problem is everything that flows from it, which includes, but is not limited to, the devaluing of women's love and the devaluing of women, period. Because what flows from the idea that women want love and men want sex is the normalization of men pretending to love women in order to have sex with them, which is both one of the most normal parts of everyone's lived experiences and rape culture. I can't think of anything more normal, more commonplace than men knowingly selling women dreams or telling women lies in order to sleep with them. And we pat men on the back and scold women for not seeing the signs, for not having discernment, for not knowing how to pick them, or whatever bullshit catchphrase most effectively puts the blame on the woman for falling into a trap that was laid out for them, which is such a dangerous, deeply misogynistic way of thinking that permeates every aspect of a culture that sees nothing wrong with lying to women in order to gain access to our bodies. All of which lays the foundation for the pervasive belief that women's love is not valuable. Society doesn't come right out and say women's love isn't valuable, but it's implied. Because at the core of the idea that women will have sex with you if you tell them that you love them is that we are so constantly in search of love, that we want to be loved so badly that we are always willing to accept love from whoever offers it, even someone we had no interest in. It's all a reflection of this idea that sex is something taken from a woman and love is something that men give, which is both a commonplace socially acceptable idea in our society and a tenet of rape culture. We have built societies that condition women to love men openly and abundantly, no matter who they are or what they do, whilst accepting that men will rarely and sparingly love particular kinds of respectable women, like the Mias, and that those women should feel so honored to be picked to to be the beneficiary of those men's low-fat love they've been taught does not need to measure up to how women are expected to love them. And Darnell and Mia's relationship is a perfect example of this that we'll talk about later. But it's also why T and Darnell saw sex with Brandy as unlikely enough to make a bet worthwhile, but yet they see sex with her as guaranteed if he tells her he loves her. It's why they condition him winning the bet on him not telling her he loves her, because the win is less meaningful to them if he says he loves her, because they don't believe there's any challenge in getting a woman who believes you love her to sleep with you, and they don't place any value in a woman's love. Which is why it's important to understand that Darnell doesn't object to T saying he's going to have to tell Brandy he loves her in order to sleep with her because he recognizes the moral bankruptcy of manipulating a woman in that way, or because he opposes rape culture. He only objects because he doesn't think it's his player, because he and T both believe that women are always withholding the pussy in exchange for love. So ain't no accomplishment in getting the draws from a woman you promise love. That's just how they perceive the standard relationship between men and women. Love in exchange for sex. The challenge for Darnell is in being able to swing a woman out her drawers through manipulation, whilst still never promising to meet her assumed need, which is love. And that is why he insists that he's gonna get some pussy without telling her he loves her, for the love of the game. And because of another misogynistic belief that women get crazy when you tell them you love them, so you can get away with doing her dirty unless you say you love her. The point is, these basically put a price on Brandy head. Whole time Brandy not even checking for this man. She danced the classiest hot girl dance to one song and bounced after explicitly telling Darnell she don't know what he's selling, but she's not buying. Which is important that we note, because from the beginning, Brandy made clear that she did not trust Darnell. She made it clear that she perceived him as a flim-flamming man trying to sell her a dream, and she wanted absolutely no parts.
I don't know what you sell, but I'm not buying.
But unbeknownst to her, these done gambling on her pussy. So Darnell runs outside and writes down this woman's license plate as she is driving away. Listen now, I keep trying to tell y'all how diabolical like Darnell are, because they are so invested in the game that this writing down the license plate so he could concoct a master plan to aggressively pursue this woman in the same breath that he minding every thing that Mia doing.
Hold up, wait a minute.
Let me tell you about this video sponsor, Bellessa, so you never have to turn to a sleazeball to satisfy your needs. I know that's right. If you've been around here for a while, y'all know that I believe women deserve nice things, which is why I'm excited to be partnering with Bellessa. Bellessa is a woman-owned sexual wellness company whose entire mission is helping people embrace, explore, and celebrate their sexuality. And today, they are doing something amazing. My friends at Bellessa and I are literally giving away free vibrators, or gift cards for vibrators, to everyone who signs up for my giveaway. You heard me? Not one, not five. Everyone who signs up gets something free. So if you've been curious about trying a new toy or upgrading what you've already got, this is the perfect opportunity. Now, Bellessa sent me a few of their products, and what I appreciate most is that they're actually designed with women's pleasure in mind. For example, the new Pebble Pro is basically the overachiever of the group. It even comes with interchangeable heads depending on what kind of experience you're looking for. And unlike a lot of toys that make you scroll through 17 random patterns you'll never use, you can actually customize your settings and get exactly what you want. The Air Vibe and Flutter Vibe are also really cool because they offer dual simulation, and the Flutter Vibe is specifically designed to mimic the sensation of oral pleasure with its fluttering technology. And then there's the Thump, which honestly lives up to its name. It combines vibration, suction, and rhythmic thumping sensations into one toy, so it's kind of an all-in-one situation. Everything is rechargeable, waterproof, discreet, and designed to fit into real life without looking like you got something secret in your nightstand. So again, if you want free toys or gift cards for toys, click the link in my description and sign up for the giveaway, because everybody who signs up wins something. Thank you again to Bellessa for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to it. So Darnell tells Mia to wait for him, both literally telling her to wait for him in the VIP section that night and alluding to her waiting for him to be ready to settle down and stop doing But then when we next see him, he's off to Brandy's place of business that he used her license plate that he jotted down as she drove away from him after explicitly rejecting him for the second time to hunt down. Police! I really want to make sure we don't glide past the seriousness of how this man stalked Brandy to pursue her. Because people act like because they see Darnell as a harmless player because he's the protagonist in this movie, that it isn't the case that every Everything about this behavior is alarming in a million different ways. Darnell has tracked a woman down who rejected his advances multiple times at her job, and now he is showing up and finessing his way past security and into her office, and she is rightfully alarmed. It's not like Brandy finds this in any way endearing, cute, or desirable. She did not want that, and she meant it. When this man shows up in her office, she calls security and she don't look back, which is important because a stalking ass, harassing ass like Darnell reframes this kind of shit to look like a game of cat and mouse that Brandy is consciously playing with him. But no.
That is not correct.
Brandy is outraged, and she doesn't change course on this. It's not like she later goes home and says, you know what? Maybe that was sweet of him. We don't see her chatting with her girlfriends about how the game she playing on this have him trip running behind her is working just as she planned. She is not Shantae, and two can play that game. Brandy is a woman who met a man in passing that she rejected multiple times, and now he's stalking her. Yes, you hear me? You heard what the I said. Darnell was a stalker. And it's important to note that it's not like Darnell hunts her down at work, finesses his way into her office under a misguided belief she'd be happy to see him, and then leaves once he realizes, oh no, that's not the case. She didn't think this was cute. No, this tracks down a woman who hadn't so much as given him her name. He shows up at her office, and even once she's visibly alarmed and screaming for security, he still doesn't go willingly. This is actively trying to run his game on her over her protests and requests for him to leave. This man had to be carried out by security. And what does he do from there? Once he realizes that she does not like these kinds of advances, he continues to stalk her. It's not like this is Ted Mosby meeting Robin for the first time and really trying to do one big grand romantic gesture after their date to secure what he believes is love at first sight. Darnell does not have a sincere, genuine bone in his body for Brandy. He does not want anything but to her and discard her so he can brag to his boy. That is his reason for aggressively pursuing this woman and quite literally invading her life and trying to convince her not to trust her own judgment, instincts, boundaries, and decisions. This man is stalking this woman for the sole purpose of deceiving her. And I want y'all to know that I know that the minute I call Darnell a stalker, a bunch of y'all rolled y'all eyes and sucked y'all teeth. And here's what I want to say to that. Isn't it interesting how you immediately want to push back at the idea of Darnell hunting down a woman he doesn't know that rejected him twice at her job, being characterized as a stalker? Yet, when Brandy later enters Darnell's home without his consent to try to make him breakfast to try to win back his affections after they'd already been dating, slept together, exchanged I love yous, and entered a relationship, she is immediately perceived as dangerously out of her mind. Why is it that we don't see Darnell continuing to pursue Brandy over her repeated rejections as crazy or criminal, but we see Darnell ending things with Brandy the night after he tells her he loves her and sleeps with her as the definitive end to their relationship that Brandy must accept? Why do we respect Darnell's boundaries but not Brandy's? I wonder what makes us see Darnell's repeated stalking of Brandy despite her rejection as acceptable and harmless game, but we see a fraction of the same conduct from Brandy, a woman who was actually in a relationship with him at that point, as crazy or unacceptable. I wonder why that is.
Misogyny.
Say it with me, people. Misogyny. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's stay on this. Darnell relentlessly and aggressively pursuing a woman who has repeatedly rejected him because she suspects that he would hurt her exactly as he specifically intends to. We will get back to Brandy's breaking and entering when we actually get there in the story. Trust. So even after Brandy done rejected him again, called security, and tossed this trifling ass out of office, does he decide to respect this woman's decision or boundaries?
What you're about to see may disturb you.
What are you doing here?
I'm waiting for you to show me the house.
No! He doubles down on stalking and scheming. So this time, he goes to the trouble of hunting down this woman's real estate portfolio, finding a home she's the realtor for, and using a fake name to make an appointment for a viewing just so he can trick this woman into meeting with him.
Police!
Do y'all y'all understand the seriousness of that? I do not think y'all do, because I have never in my life heard the true weight of Darnell's wrongdoing acknowledged for what it was. People's indictment of Darnell typically starts and ends with, he was a player, he was a womanizer, which to them isn't much of an indictment at all, because most people do not see men being womanizers as truly morally wrong, which it is. But Darnell's wrongdoing goes so far beyond juggling multiple women or even leading multiple women on. Because Darnell is the protagonist narrating the story, we don't see him as one of the many random who tries to holler that a woman encounters in passing throughout her day. But it's important that we take a second to see him that way, to see Brandy as our protagonist, and I'll explain why. Imagine you're Brandy. One day you're leaving a shop, and as you're heading to your car, a random tries to holler at you. Because you reject him, he does the equivalent of, ain't nobody wants your ass anyway.
Most men would have called you stunk up.
And his friend swoops in to try to apologize for his friend as a means of shooting his shot too. You're not interested, so you get in your car, and as you're screwing up your window, he drops a VIP pass to a club in the car. Later, you decide, you know what? I got a VIP pass to the club, I might as well go check it out. You go to check out the club, not because you have any interest in either random Dusty you've already forgotten about. But the moment you arrive at the club, the Dusty spots you and tries to make a move on you. So you immediately reassert that you are not interested. You dance with another man and leave the club without exchanging names or contact information with the Dusty that you have already rejected because you are not interested in said Dusty. Thus, why you rejected him. The next thing you know, you're at work when someone enters your office who you assume to be a delivery man delivering flowers. But instead of a delivery man, out pops the Dusty from behind the flowers. You scream and call security because you're scared that the Dusty you never gave your name has managed to find out where you work and now is physically present in your office that he has somehow managed to gain access to by passing security. The Dusty tries to plead his case to you that he wants to go out with you. You reject him and have security drag the Dusty out of your office because he would not go willingly. You go back to business as usual. When you next look, you show up by yourself to the private home you're supposed to be showing to a potential buyer. But instead of the potential buyer, out pops the Dusty you just threw out of your office because he somehow managed to figure out your literal whereabouts and used a fake name to lure you out to meet him at this home where you have no security or witnesses. Do y'all understand how scary and OD that is? Let me tell y'all something right now. It might take me the rest of my days, but I am going to expose these stalking ass in 90s black classics if it's the last thing I do.
Receipts, proof, timeline, screenshots, everything.
Today is Darnell, tomorrow is Darius and Love Jones. Because the only reason we ain't had nothing to say about getting that girl address from the record store so he could follow her home was because he looked like Lorenz Tate.
Not on my watch. Not on my watch.
But let me tell you all something. As a bitch who's been stalked by several men, being stalked is the scariest shit you could ever imagine. And we need not romanticize it on any level or unintentionally inspire these by conflating romantic gestures with stalking and boundary crossing. There's a thin line between romantic gesture and criminal conduct, you know, and Darnell's ass was running all across that bitch, which is why, had Brandy picked up the phone and called the police when he did that shit, she would have been well within her right. If she had reacted how Darnell would eventually react to her being in his house without his consent later on, she would have been well within her rights. But something tells me that had she not been receptive to Darnell's ruse masquerading as a grand gesture, in particular, him gifting her with an expensive Lalique figurine he deliberately told her set him back as a manufactured way of appearing humble and earnest in his pursuit of her, people would have perceived her exactly how T did, despite knowing that Darnell is a bullshitter.
Most men would have called you stunk up.
Because Brandy is a rich, successful, put-together black businesswoman, that comes with its own set of negative assumptions and aspersions. The Brandys of the world are damned if they do, damned if they don't. Because men who inherently feel threatened and emasculated by her will be personally offended if she's not perceived as open to dating men beneath her social standing. So they will scold her for being ungrateful and looking down on working-class black men. They'll accuse her of being unable to get a man on her level or higher and threaten her that she'll end up alone if she doesn't lower her standards for a Darnell who's only making her empty promises and only pretending to be seriously interested in her and unthreatened by her success. But if and when she does date a Darnell and he plays her, she'll be blamed for not knowing better and mocked and belittled for not being able to success her way out of being played by a Dusty. You can guarantee that the same to expect Brandy to just shake off Darnell professing his love her and immediately reneging on all of it as the game is the game because they figure she should have known better. She should have known Darnell was a player, would have perceived her as some variation of a rich stuck-up bitch had she been unmoved by Darnell buying her that expensive Lalique since he'd almost broken her Lalique in her office when he barged in uninvited.
Sure.
This is stupid. This is Lalique.
Had she not been receptive to that manipulation in the form of an expensive gift, a whole bunch of black men would have been right there talking about, see, black women say they want a good man, but if he doesn't make 6 figures, she don't even care that he's a hardworking man that paid attention to her likes and he spent his last to get her a gift and blah, 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 blah. And that isn't just some bullshit that Brandy and black women like Brandy have to navigate. It's some bullshit that Darnell and like Darnell know that she has to navigate. And he and they use it to their advantage, which is why everything about Darnell's speech is designed to tug on the rope in this game of tug of war. Darnell knows women like Brandy have to play in their heads between knowing they can't trust a like Darnell and knowing they'll be judged if they trust their intuition and reject the like Darnell if by any chance they happen to be the they're bending over backwards to pretend to be.
What kind of game are you playing?
No, I'm not playing no game. See, when I came at you honest and direct, you wouldn't give me the time of day. So you tell me what kind of game you playing.
Boy, ain't no way, boy.
Darnell is not just relentlessly and aggressively pursuing this woman. He's not even just deceiving this woman. He's deliberately gaslighting this woman. And when I say gaslighting, I don't mean it in the way that everybody and their mother casually throws it around like it's interchangeable with lying. No, I mean gaslighting like the actual definition. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation and emotional abuse where the perpetrator persistently distorts the truth or denies reality, forcing the victim to doubt their own memories, perceptions, or sanity. A common gaslighting tactic is twisting an argument so that the victim feels responsible for the perpetrator's bad behavior.
No, I'm not playing no game. See, when I came at you honest and direct, you wouldn't give me the time of day. So you tell me what kind of game you playing.
Y'all see the bullshit? This has never come at her honest and direct. This entire thing is a ruse set up to win a bet, but he's gaslighting this woman into believing that he's been honest and it's her actions that have forced him to go to the lengths of stalking her and running her down to get her to go out with him. But unfortunately, the stalking and the gaslighting works. He wears her down and gets her to go out with him against her better judgment. And look at his wicked ass grinning about it. So Brandy starts dating him, like seriously dating. He and her all about the place. They had museums, they had the local soul food restaurant, they everywhere. But Brandy still isn't sleeping with him because she is not ready to, and she still doesn't trust him. And with good reason. Because despite the lengths he's going to in order to trick Brandy into thinking he's serious about her, in the background, he's still in Mia's face trying to convince her the same thing. But Darnell can only pretend to be a good guy for so long because he gets impatient with being denied the only thing he really wants and decides to ramp up the pressure. So when he and Brandy go horseback riding, after he gets his uncultured ass tossed off the horse, you see me calling this man uncultured? Like I know how to ride any horse. Anyway, after he gets tossed off the horse, Brandy tries to teach him the proper way to get on and ride the horse, which he takes as an opportunity to try to this woman in the woods, which she ultimately puts the kibosh on. But do you know what this adult man does when this woman rejects his sexual advances? He does exactly what I expect from an who's ignored all her other boundaries thus far. He pushes the issue. But he doesn't just push the issue. This turns the fuck up.
What are you afraid of?
I'm not afraid of anything.
Obviously, you're afraid. You bring me up here to go motherfucking horsey back right now. You don't know me because a motherfucker get a little physical. Stop tripping. Kill that shit.
Again, I say to y'all, police!
Police!
This is why there is nothing cute, harmless, or normal about the way this violates women's boundaries to get whatever he wants, because it's a slippery slope. Look how he keeps slipping and sliding all past her boundaries till eventually gonna slip and slide all the way into her bed. Y'all see the problem?
Hold up, wait a minute.
But before we get deeper into the video, y'all know your girl has merch, right? That's right, the Illuminativerse has merch, so you can rep your favorite channel. Whether you're an Illuminati pop girl like myself, an Olay and chill enthusiast like my baby sister, an Olay and friend stan like all my friends, somebody who likes to scream with me on Illuminati bites, or somebody who locks in for a 2-hour Illuminati production, we've got something for you. We've got mugs, shirts, and hats. It's all very cute because Cartoon Me is adorable. Shout out to Toonrific Tariq for being the man behind her. And to my pop watchers in particular, please know that you wore me down and I finally gave y'all a Shoot Me With Your Big Gun merch that y'all kept begging for. Look how cute your Shoot Me With Your Big Gun merch is. Oh my God, to be an Illuminati pop girly. But I genuinely love my merch, not just because it's mine, but because I ordered everything myself before showing it to y'all so I can make sure the quality was good, because I could not have y'all spending y'all hard-earned money on garbage, which is why I am pleased to report that I have a cupboard full of the most beautiful glossy mugs and a drawer full of the comfiest Illuminati shirts. So if you've ever wanted to support the channel or rep your favorite corner of the Illuminativerse, or just walk around with my cartoon face on your chest like a true fan, check out the merch store linked in the description below, or go to illuminati-shop.fourthwall.com to make sure you get your Illuminati merch. Again, that's illuminati-shop.fourthwall.com, or click the link in the description below, or use the QR code on screen to run me your money today. Now let's get back to the video. But that's not the only or even the most important thing about this scene. What's most important is what Brandy says to him.
Look, I don't want to be here. I don't know you. I don't know who you are. I don't trust you.
Brandy makes it abundantly clear to this man that she does not feel like she knows him well enough to sleep with him. She does not trust him, and she's scared. This is so important because it's crazy to me to see Brandy portrayed like a crazy woman when she finally snaps on this. Like she didn't spend the entire movie vocally telling him how scared she is of being played with and used by him the entire time. This is not a woman enthusiastically jumping carefree into his bed, a situationship or a relationship. Brandy is a woman who was repeatedly declaring to this man how emotionally vulnerable she was and how afraid she was of opening herself up both sexually and emotionally to him. And Darnell not only couldn't begin to give a less about this woman's feelings, her well-being, or hurting her, he was actively taking her fear and apprehension about trusting him and sleeping with him and gaslighting her about it. He knows that he wants nothing more but sex from her and that the relationship is just a means to that end. But his response to the real fear and apprehension she has about having sex with him is to get angry at her and flip it around like she's the one playing games. This is gaslighting to the max, and it works. So much, in fact, that when you next look, Brandy goes to the club later that night to see him, but this starts playing in her face right in front of Mia and basically tells her if she ain't talking pussy popping, he don't want to talk. You see how we way beyond just a juggling multiple women or leading gals on little piece? This is a man actively manipulating, gaslighting, and pressuring a woman into giving him some pussy. This is a moral bankruptcy that our society does not recognize as such, but it is. This is coercion. It's not legally punishable coercion, but it's still coercion, and you need to behave ethically, not just lawfully.
Electric chair.
So, what do y'all think is the result of Darnell doing this to Brandy? You guessed it. Just like before, he wears her down. So Brandy calls and invites him to come over later. And the same Darnell that was just playing in her face at Chocolate City gets so hyped to take his ass over there. But Brandy doesn't just give up the pussy all willy-nilly. Several very important things happen first. Brandy makes it clear that her finally inviting Darnell over to her home to finally have sex is a direct result of the lies he has been telling her and the pressure he's been putting on her to sleep with him.
I just wanted you to know that I heard what you said tonight. And I heard you the day we went riding.
Mind you, as she's trying to bare her soul to him, he's just trying to parlay it into her as soon as possible, forcing this woman to have to really insist he takes seriously what she's trying to tell him.
What you hear when we went riding?
Well,
What you hear?
There's just a lot of things, please listen to me,
Listen.
in my past that you don't know about,
Well,
that you don't understand. And I'm scared.
This woman is yet again trying to impress upon him how seriously she takes sleeping with him, that she's literally afraid. But Darnell doesn't give a about her or her feelings, so it doesn't matter how serious she obviously is, how much tremble is in her voice, or how visible the tears in her eyes are. He's still just trying to run whatever game will get her to let him
Look, I'm scared too. Okay? I'm scared. You can see it in my eyes. But you got to trust me. I'm here for you. I'm here for you.
Boy, have you lost your mind? Cause I'll help you find it.
Y'all see the kind of evil shit this motherfucker Darnell was on? You see the gaslighting and the manipulation? I'm scared too. You can see it in my eyes. But you have to trust me. Ew.
Boo. Tomato, tomato, tomato.
All time, this no, he can't be trusted. He not scared of shit. All this man is doing is using this woman's emotional vulnerability to manipulate her into giving him what he wants. And even still, Brandy still don't just give up the pussy. She keeps looking for reassurance that they're on the same page about the relationship and how seriously she is taking this before having sex with him. Especially because this was just playing in her face with me earlier that night, mind you. So she asks him outright if there is someone else he so much as has feelings for.
Darnell, is there someone? Do you have feelings for anybody?
Feelings for? I can't even think of nobody since I met you. I don't feelings. What kind?
And y'all hear this lying ass, gaslighting ass, right? Feelings. Feelings? What feelings? I can't even think about nobody but you. Whole time this no, he plotting on Mia as they speak.
You raggedy bitch.
But yet again, Brandy keeps trying to implore this to take her feelings seriously and what she's saying before they go any further.
Because I cannot be hurt. It would not be good for me to be hurt.
Brandy done tell this I cannot be hurt. It would not be good if I get hurt. She has warned this repeatedly. But because he's singularly focused on sleeping with her and he already lives a lifestyle of lying to and hurting women no matter what he's promised them beforehand, he does not heed her warnings in the slightest. Instead, he not only triples down on lying, now he got a fan righteous indignation at even the suggestion that he could hurt her.
Bruh.
It would not be good for me to be hurt.
I'm shocked and you would think that I would hurt you.
It just wouldn't be good.
I'm not trying to hurt you, babe. Now look, I'm not. I ain't trying to hurt you, woman.
Y'all see the gaslighting they talking about? I'm shocked and appalled you even think I would hurt you. You think I would try to hurt you?
How dare you?
And yet again, Brandy continues to make this understand that he don't need to her if he ain't serious as about being with her. So she gives this another line of questioning.
When do you want me?
I want you, baby. I want you like I'm.
Listen.
Want you.
But do you need me? You need me?
I need you. 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 I need you like need you.
Do you love me?
This woman have tears streaming down her face. She has covered every basis she can cover to make sure she and this man on the same page before they do this. Nothing about anything she has said or done up to this point says that this woman is consenting to a one-night stand. She asks this man, does he love her? With tears streaming down her face. And despite the hurt and the fear all behind that question, despite what he knows he actually feels, what he knows his true intentions are, and his earlier promise that he would not tell her he loved her to get the drawers. That is exactly what this piece of shit does.
I love you. I love you. I love you.
Wait, please
I love you.
I'm just...
No. Don't be scared.
Well, just as I thought, trash.
And what is Brandy saying the entire time he says he loves her as he kisses her to initiate sex? I'm so scared. The woman is repeating, I'm so scared, because she is terrified of giving herself to this man and being used and played with. Brandy found every way under the son to make clear to this man she did not want to play games and to beg this man not to play with her. And what'd he do?
Jump off a bridge.
Now, let's talk about the revelation that she shares with him once they have sex, or while they're having sex, rather, when she tells him that she killed her ex-husband because he was abusive.
Whoa, 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 hey, 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 hey.
I think it's important that we talk about this because this is the moment in the movie where Brandy is essentially revealed to be crazy, where he suddenly perceives her as this crazy woman. But why? Why is this the moment that Brandy is meant to be a crazy woman? Many women, including yours truly, have been the victims and survivors of domestic violence. And everything about how Brandy had engaged a relationship with him thus far indicated that she was a woman that had been abused and hurt before, which is why she repeatedly made it clear to him that she did not want to play games, that she was very scared, that she really did not want to be hurt, that it would not be good for her to be hurt. That is very consistent with somebody who has survived an abusive relationship. So what is crazy about a woman thinking that she's found a man who she's taken her time getting to know, who she has explicitly and repeatedly expressed her fears, boundaries, and vulnerabilities to, and been reassured by him that he loves her and she can trust him because he's serious about her. So when she finally has sex with him, she thinks it's safe to finally open up to him and tell him about a traumatic experience that she's had before. Do you know how insane it is that a woman could tell you that a man abused her and she killed him in self-defense and she be perceived as the crazy one? The only reason why Darnell is so alarmed by this information is because a woman who won't take a man's abuse lying down is dangerous to a man who gets off by doing whatever he wants to women without repercussion. Learning she killed her abusive ex-husband makes her scary because now he's scared there could be actual consequences for hurting this woman. He didn't care when she pleaded with him not to hurt her. He cared when he thought there could be consequences for hurting her. And another reason it immediately gets her perceived as crazy is because misogyny and patriarchy have conditioned everyone, men in particular, to inherently doubt and minimize abuse claims by women. Which is why, despite having no actual reason to doubt Brandy's claim that her ex-husband abused her at that point, he actually had reason to believe Brandy was abused based on everything she'd said and done thus far. His first instinct is to doubt what she's saying and to be wary of her. Although he doesn't come right out and say he doesn't believe that her husband abused her or abused her to a level justifying lethal force, his skepticism is implied in how he responds to her.
Do you hate me now? Tell me the truth.
No.
No?
Why would I hate you? I mean, if he was abusive, you had to kill his ass.
And that inherent and implied skepticism is reinforced by Brandy later getting Darnell arrested on false charges. That entire storyline exists to deliberately call into question the veracity of Brandy's abuse claims about her ex-husband, so that the audience can comfortably perceive her as a crazy woman and the villain. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We're gonna get into that in short order. Let's stay on Brandy's confession that she killed her ex-husband for right now. Despite Darnell's reaction and how we're clearly meant to perceive her in this moment, there was nothing actually truly scary and crazy about Brandy's actions or her choosing to share them with Darnell. If Brandy was abused before and she killed her abusive ex-husband, which I'm sure was recognized as self-defense, thus why Brandy is out and about a free woman, what is crazy about her sharing that with this man that she is now dating after he's proclaimed her love and she's finally decided to let him in? She's made to seem like she's so crazy because she shared it after they had sex, but it's usually once you've had sex with somebody that you believe that you love and you're laying down on your pillow talking, that you're having these emotionally vulnerable conversations where you feel like you can open up to them and tell them things you haven't told other people. The entire time Brandy had been dating that man, she was cautious, she was vulnerable, she was anxious, and she was so damn scared of being hurt that it makes sense that once she finally invited him into her home, into her bed, and truly into her life and her emotions, that she chose that moment to finally share the traumatic experience that would make sense of why she'd been so scared to trust him, to open up to him, and to have sex with him. There was nothing stopping Darnell from inquiring why she was so afraid any of the many times she'd brought it up. He could have asked her why she was so scared, why it wouldn't be a good thing for him to hurt her, but he didn't inquire because he didn't give a f. But she decided to tell him after they had sex because that's when she felt closest to him, like she could truly finally trust him, and somehow that makes her a crazy woman, when in fact that's not proof of her being crazy, but it is more proof that he's a piece of shit, because that man ain't asked her one follow-up question, and apparently he wasn't so scared of her crazy ass not to run downstairs to rummage through her kitchen whilst he called his boy to brag about finessing this woman out her drawers and winning the bet. Because it's like I told y'all earlier, none of this has been about Brandy or even any desire to sleep with Brandy. It is all about affirming his masculinity to he and his boy. It is about what sleeping with her signals to his boys, which is why he can't even wait till he's out of her house to get on the phone to T to brag about it. This man's so pressed to brag to T that he runs the risk of her catching him, because that's the shit this really gets off on.
I'm the man. That's right. I'm the man.
Electric chair.
Which is why, again I say, he was only ever in it for the love of the game. Which is why the important thing to understand about this is that whether you think Brandy is crazy or not, whether you think it was crazy of her to tell him about killing her abusive ex-husband right after they had sex or not, it doesn't have anything to do with the price of tea in China. Because no matter what Brandy did or didn't do, Darnell always planned to her and discard her. There is nothing that she could or could not do to change that outcome, which is why all of it was gaslighting. Like I said earlier, a standard gaslighting tactic is to make the person think that they are responsible for your behavior. So what happens after they finally have sex, after he has lied to her and deceived her and given her every false reassurance he could to get her to sleep with him, is that it's then made to seem to her and to the audience like he's suddenly turned off by Brandy because Brandy's crazy, because she expresses this information, or that he's turned off by Brandy because she's doing too much, or she's clingy, or like she wants him too much because she suddenly starts buying him clothes or offering to buy him a club and all these different things. But none of what Brandy's doing is wrong nor crazy, and it was what he was going to do regardless. Moreover, there's nothing crazy about a rich woman thinking that it's safe to open up to or spend money on a man she's dating who has repeatedly assured her that he is serious about her, that she can trust him, and only just last night told her that he loves her and finally made love to her. It makes perfect sense for her to think it's safe for her to be vulnerable, to be affectionate, to spend some money on him. She's not foolish to do those things. It doesn't make her the problem. And her doing those things are not the reason why he doesn't want her. It's not because she's not letting him be a man, or she's doing too much, or she had too much money, or anything else. It's all immaterial, because this man started their relationship with the intention of doing exactly what he did after they had sex. And that would have happened regardless of how she conducted herself, which is why it's all gaslighting. So what happens next is that after he sleeps with her and he wins his bet, he no longer has any more use for Brandy or any more interest in Brandy. So despite the fact that for Brandy, them having sex and him telling her he loved her was truly the big step forward in having a long-term, serious, meaningful relationship with him, for him, it was the beginning of the end. He's done with her now, but she doesn't know that. So the very next day after they sleep together, it's her birthday, and she thinks she's in a relationship with a man she's in love with. She decides to treat him to some nice things, and all she wants is for him to come over later on her birthday and for them to have cake together and dinner together. But he tells her he has to do some things, so she lends him her limo to go get those things done and go meet up with her later. But what he chooses to do is to take the limo of the woman who he just told he loved, who he just slept with after promising all kind of things to, and take it over to the woman he's actually interested in, despite having told Brandy the very night before that there was no other woman he's interested in, that he was outraged at the thought of it. Talk about, oh, you know I love you, you know you could trust me. He takes her limo to go be with that other woman and never returns to Brandy's home on her birthday. So while Brandy is sitting at her house at the table in front of her birthday cake waiting for this man who she loves, who told her he loves her, to return home, he is laid up with the next bitch, making promises to the next bitch. So she leaves the birthday cake on his porch with the knife in the cake, which we're meant to interpret as a threat that serves as the beginning of Brandy's crazy arc, which I find interesting, that this reaction is immediately clocked as evidence that Brandy is crazy, rather than justified rage, because the man that literally spent the entire movie's runtime up until that point harassing her, lying to her, emotionally manipulating her, and gaslighting her into believing she was the problem for even thinking he would hurt her, just told her he loved her, that there was nobody else, and her last night, only to spend the following day, her birthday, driving up and down in her limo with the next bitch.
This is the worst thing I've ever seen.
Do y'all understand the kind of disrespect we talking? Darnell not only immediately took his ass to Mia the moment he was done with Brandy, he got Brandy driver seeing it all, and he don't give a Not only is this man laid up in bed with Mia all night with Brandy limo park out front when the only reason she lent him the limo was so he could run his errands and make it back to her place to celebrate her birthday with her. This tossed out all the expensive clothes Brandy bought him with her hard-earned money just to illustrate to Mia all the he don't give about Brandy. Brandy driver seeing all this and could obviously honestly report back to Brandy, mind you, but he don't care, cause Brandy was never anything more to him than a bet. So I say to y'all, he lucky all Brandy do is put a knife in that cake. And despite how they wanted us to perceive it, at this point in the movie, Brandy hasn't done anything crazy yet, because she's not some latently crazy woman as Darnell in the movie want us to believe. Brandy's not crazy. Brandy snaps. And even still, this is not the point where she snaps. Brandy rightfully gets upset and leaves her birthday cake that Darnell was supposed to come eat with her on his porch with the knife in it, which scares him a little bit, but not enough to start telling the truth or to take accountability, so he hides it from Mia. Then he takes himself to Brandy's house with a full-on attitude, completely icy and curt, absolutely no semblance of the man he presented himself as the night before when he told her that he loved her and he was serious about her in order to get her to sleep with him. This man pops up at our house icy as fuck, like he don't know her from nowhere, to tell her let's just be friends. An entirely different song and dance than the one he played for when he was last there. And what's so wild about like Darnell is that despite the fact that he is there to dismiss her from his life unceremoniously, when she doesn't give him the reaction that his ego requires, he's offended by that.
Well, excuse the fuck out of me.
What follows from there is one of the most important moments in the movie, which is when Brandy finally snaps. When Brandy decides to try to win Darnell back, she does this by going to his house uninvited and trying to cook him breakfast. But when Darnell wakes up and sees Brandy in his house without his permission after rejecting her, he responds to her refusal to hear what he's saying and to get out of his house immediately by getting violent with her. He doesn't hit her outright, but what he does is grip her the fuck up, aggressively pushes her into the wall, curses at her, and threatens her.
Just hold me.
Get your mother. The fuck? What the fuck wrong with you? Now stop playing fucking games and get the fuck out.
What's interesting to me about how this interaction is perceived by audiences is that this was violent on Darnell's part. Darnell did assault her, yet no one ever recognizes it as such. So much so that when Brandy eventually tells the police that Darnell abused her, everybody treats the accusation as though it's an entirely fabricated claim, when it's not. Now, let me be clear. The evidence is completely fabricated. The extent of the abuse and the story that she tells the police is wildly exaggerated, but it is not completely fabricated. It doesn't just come out of thin air. It's born from this moment. You can literally see in her eyes the exact moment where she hits the wall and everything changes. Brandy does not just arbitrarily decide to falsely accuse Darnell of abuse because that's the way that she or other black women choose to get revenge on innocent black men. Darnell did actually get violent with her. It's so normalized for men to say they didn't or wouldn't hit a woman, that they just mush her or hem her up, or all these other violent acts they've unilaterally decided are okay, that we don't perceive it as violence when we see it. But that's what it is.
I've never hit a woman, man. I've never needed to. Like, I never even mushed a woman. Any woman ever get mushed? Do you know what mushing is? You do, yeah, see? Look at the black girl right there. Show her. She put a whole hand over her. It's a non-violent movement when you're in my face. Ah!
I would never hit a woman, nah. But I'll shake the shit out of one. What the hell's wrong with you? You crazy woman? I'll kill you, girl.
We may laugh about that shit at a comedy show, but in reality, it's not a laughing matter. Darnell got physically aggressive with a traumatized survivor of domestic violence, and she snapped. Another reason everyone failed to recognize Darnell's reaction to Brandy as violent or inappropriate is because we accept Darnell's perception of Brandy as crazy, dangerous, and or a threat because she killed her abusive ex-husband and left the knife in the cake. So once Brandy enters Darnell's home without his consent after the breakup, we think that justifies his reaction. But what I find interesting about that thought process is how inconsistent it is with how we perceive Darnell's behavior in their relationship leading up to that point. The tone he set and the threat Brandy could have perceived him as. Like I said earlier, we easily accept that Brandy entering Darnell's home without his consent after he rejects her is a flagrant foul, regardless of whether she's trying to do a romantic gesture. Yet, we didn't see it that way when Darnell, who was a total stranger at the time, hunted her down at multiple locations after being rejected to try to perform his romantic gestures, which is the same blind spot that has us seeing the problem with Brandy continuing to plead her case rather than leaving the moment he asked her to as a violation deserving of the aggressive reaction she got, but don't see the problem with Darnell not leaving her office the moment she told him to. And in Brandy's case, she did what she did after having a relationship with him, whereas Darnell did what he did without so much as an invitation into her life, let alone her office. The man didn't know her name. But the reason I point that out isn't merely to point out the audience's hypocrisy or blind spots. I'm pointing it out so that we can look at what Brandy Brandy was doing in Darnell's home within the context of their actual relationship, instead of Darnell's distorted perception and framing of her as a crazy woman. Think about it. From Brandy's perspective, everything about she and Darnell's relationship thus far would suggest that it would be well received, or maybe even encouraged, for her to disregard him ending the relationship by trying to win him back, change his mind, or prove how much she cares about him via a grand romantic gesture of some kind. She's dealing with a man who she rejected repeatedly when he was a stranger she did not know, who violated all her boundaries and ignored every way she explicitly rejected him, and showed up at her job multiple times trying to win her over. Darnell snuck past security to get into Brandy's office and give her flowers, and even though she wanted him to leave and she even called security, he still continued to try to plead his case. How is that any different or less crazy than Brandy sneaking into Darnell's house to cook him breakfast to win him back, continuing to try to plead her case instead of leaving when told? If it wasn't crazy for Darnell to do that earlier, why is it crazy when Brandy does it? Moreover, Brandy explicitly informed this man that she was a victim and a survivor of domestic violence. She literally told him she had an abusive ex-husband she had to kill to save her own life. She told this man not to hurt her, not to play games with her, and that it would not be good for him to hurt her. She went out of her way to make him aware of how traumatized she was and how sensitive she was to abuse from men. So with that knowledge in mind and the proper context of their relationship, what justifies Darnell responding to her in that moment with violence or physical aggression or intimidation of any kind? I would argue that Darnell had a greater responsibility to the mental care of this woman who spent the entire movie explaining to him why she needed to be handled with care. But it's an important question and answer for you to think about, because that's the moment in the movie where Brandy goes off the deep end. The point where Brandy decides that this man is her enemy and that she wants to get revenge by any means necessary, which she ultimately concludes should be murder. Because Brandy spent the entire movie's runtime trying to get this man to handle her with care, actually, it's not even that she was trying to convince him to handle her with care or to treat her right. It's that he spent the entire movie trying to convince her that she was tripping, she was playing games, and that she was untrusting and problematic to even think that he had anything short of good intentions for her. And again, I say, I am not defending Brandy's actions from then on, because there's obviously no justifications for trying to kill the man or beating herself up in order to frame him for a much nastier assault than what he actually did. But it's important that we understand how she got there, because Brandy is not just a crazy woman. Brandy is not a woman that's been crazy the entire time. She's an abuse victim who he manipulated, emotionally and sexually took advantage of, lied to, used, discarded, and put his hands on, causing her to snap. Like I said in the beginning, nobody is ever going to defend Brandy's decision to try to kill this or to get him arrested on exaggerated criminal charges or anything else criminal she gets into, because Brandy's actions became indefensible. But everyone skips over the long chain of indefensible things Darnell did to get there. So my question is this. Obviously, death isn't the appropriate punishment for what Darnell did to Brandy. But what is? Why don't we be real about the fact that we don't think anything is an appropriate consequence for men who use and abuse and mistreat and coerce and manipulate and gaslight women into access to the intimate parts of their bodies? We outlined the way that Darnell quite literally preyed on this woman. He randomly identified this woman one day and decided she would be the target of his bet. Then he went out of his way to infiltrate her life and violate her boundaries just so that he could sleep with her and discard her in spite of and in light of her trauma and her past experiences. What should be the punishment for that?
Electric chair.
Why don't we understand or have more grace or space for understanding why Brandy might want to get revenge after everything she'd already been through, combined with what Darnell was putting her through? The movie ends with Darnell in the hospital gathered around his loved ones, whilst he narrates his final assessment of Brandy as a crazy woman who something is deeply wrong with. Darnell never really looked inward or took much accountability at all, and it's because he wasn't required to. Everyone in Darnell's life knew what he was and how he mistreated women. Mia knew, his mother knew, his sister knew, T knew, Smitty knew. Yet everyone immediately accepted that Brandy was the villain and he was the victim, because none of them think that using women in the way that Darnell uses women justifies revenge or retaliation. Which is why it's worth mentioning that one of the only two voices of reason in the movie is Darnell's boss, Smitty, who repeatedly encourages him to settle down and stop playing games with women. But even Smitty's warnings and advice still frame womanizing as a male rite of passage to be enjoyed at the expense of women until finally choosing to settle down. And the other voice of reason was Darnell's mother, played by the iconic Della Reese, who warned him early in the film that his ways were going to catch up to him. But it needs to be recognized that when Darnell's ways do finally catch up to to him. His mom charges at Brandy because ultimately she and Mia and women like them still stand with, protect, and defend the Darnells of the world because they think Darnell will treat them differently and or that they'll be protected from the consequences of how Darnell treats other women. But that's not true, which is why Darnell's mom's phone stay ringing because all his gals looking for him over there, and she had to deal with Brandy doing drive-bys on her crib, and Mia ain't even realize how much danger she was in. But despite what the Mias may believe, or even what the Darnells think they truly feel about the Mias, they are no better off than the Brandys, and I'll explain why. I could see somebody thinking that it doesn't make sense how Brandy doesn't fit the bill of the respectable woman he could wife when Mia did, and it's because there's levels to this. Whilst Brandy is a class act who carries herself with the utmost respect and would meet the standards of respectability politics, Mia is the girl next door. Not only framed as the down-to-earth one who got away, but despite the fact that Mia is in the Navy, she's still presented as a generally soft-spoken woman who likes to look into Darnell's eye, accept his shit without pushback, and wait on him until he finally chooses her. Mia knows Darnell is a player lying to and using women, and she doesn't care because she buys into the idea that she is different. She is special, which might seem like harmless thinking, but it's exactly the kind of thinking that leads women to see other women as responsible for how they're mistreated by men. Like, oh, if you was XYZ, then he'd treat you different. It's that kind of thinking that had Mia smiling from ear to ear at the knowledge that Darnell was just using Brandy. Just look at how Mia was grinning watching Darnell demonstrate all the he didn't give about Brandy as he threw all the shit she just bought him outside her limo she'd lent him. But that's who Mia is. The women who set the dinner table for patriarchy. We just like her because she's being played by Regina King. Whereas Brandy was not just a respectable woman, and she wasn't the girl next door. She was one of the most demonized kinds of women, the career woman. Brandy was a rich, successful woman who was firm and direct in her boundaries. And she was black, so she might as well just be the strong, independent black woman who don't need no man for nothing in the eyes and like Darnell. He don't want no woman who doing bigger and better than him for true, which is why he was so turned off when this gal offered to buy him a club of his own or to help level him up. He want women who could think he's a big deal when they see him walking around Chocolate City pretending to own the place. He don't want no woman who could own her own. To the Darnells of the world, those kinds of women are notches on their belt or things to be brought down a peg, but they're not to be truly valued or desired. Even for a man like Darnell who only sees women as possessions, the Brandys still don't rise to the level of trophies to keep. They're just things to be shown off and discarded. True sports fishing. They want to hook them, take a picture, and toss them back into the ocean. And although they may pick or keep the Mias, they're still just a thing to them. Which is why, when Darnell and Mia are sitting up on that cliff reminiscing and talking about their feelings, he asks her if he'd made his feelings known back in high school, if he could have had her.
Look, let me ask you a question, because I mean, this is real. Okay. Back in the day when we were younger, could I have had you?
Maybe. If you've been ready.
I'm ready now.
Think so?
Mia is both a pick-me and a representation of this myth that if you act a certain way, you'll be rewarded with a man who's good to you whilst being bad to everyone else, which is why they make sure to show you her not sleeping with him and him saying he respects that, followed by her cooking for him, then a montage of him breaking up with all the other women. Contrast that to him turning up when Brandy rejects him versus him saying he respects it when Mia does. But it's a lie, a myth they present to us. Darnell and men like Darnell perceive women as possessions, and nothing about him choosing Mia will exempt her from being treated that way. No matter what dream the movie and life tries to sell you, when they try to convince you that Darnell is a changed man who ain't could do no more now that he's with Mia. Sure, buddy. That nut-ass propaganda comes from the same page of the Patriarchy Pick-Me handbook that says a man will change for the right woman if he wanted to, he could.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
That is propaganda meant to trick you into enthusiastically embracing men who have shown you how badly they treat women because you're convinced he'll magically change overnight for you. It's propaganda. Mia is not evidence that Darnell changed. Mia is evidence of the story that we are taught about which women are worthy of commitment. The truth is what we saw from the beginning, which was Darnell busy f***ing a roster full of women and aggressively pursuing and selling Brandy dreams whilst trying to bag Mia and get in the way of her and who had way more to offer her and was moving with actual respect and intention, which is exactly the kind of shit I was talking about earlier when I said that women are conditioned to feel so honored to be picked to be the beneficiary of men's low-fat love that doesn't measure up to how women are expected to love them. Because let's keep it G real. While Darnell is running around everybody he wants whilst claiming to want love and be with Mia, and she's expected not to question his love, Mia has to relegate her alternative love interest to the friend zone. Because trust and believe that if Mia had actually been given that play like how Darnell was giving Brandy and all the other gals play, he would not have accepted her or been half as ready and willing to be in a relationship with her. It's a double standard we have been conditioned to accept because it flows from the same gendered misogyny that undergirds all of this. But they'll never swing me. If there was a realistically written sequel to A Thin Line Between Love and Hate, Darnell would have been cheating on Mia just like Lance was still cheating on his Mia after bending over backwards to bag her and take her virginity in the best man. Darnell wasn't shit and Brandy deserved better. If you enjoyed the video you just watched, congratulations! You've officially wandered into the Illuminati-verse. Now before you get overwhelmed, let me explain where exactly you've landed, because apparently one YouTube channel was not enough for me. If you're looking for my biggest productions, the kinds of videos that require me to disappear into a cave for 6 weeks and emerge with an existential crisis, subscribe to Illuminati, my flagship channel, where you'll find my magnum opuses like If Pretty is a Privilege, Ugly is a Curse, How This Didn't Age Well Destroyed Media Literacy, How Men Become Aziz Ansari, Why Serial Killers Aren't Monsters, and so much more. If you're here because you love television, movies, and hearing me explain why everybody misunderstood your favorite character, subscribe to Illuminati Pop, my TV and film essay channel. That's where you'll find fun deep dives on How I Met Your Mother, Sex and the City, Desperate Housewives, You, Euphoria, Insecure, Girlfriends, and more. And if you'd like to watch my videos uncensored, get early access, and support the channel directly, just join the Illuminati Pop Patreon. If you are looking for chaos and a good time, subscribe to Olay and Chill, where I unpack reality TV, TikTok drama, documentaries, chaos in internet, and whatever nonsense the internet has cooked up this week. If you'd like to watch me and some of my favorite Black creators and thinkers come together to discuss the culture, subscribe to Olay and Friends. If you're looking for shorter commentary on whatever the internet is currently spiraling about or whatever's on my mind, subscribe to Illuminati Bites. If you want to watch me and my bitch Kenny JD laugh, overshare, talk a little shit, and unpack the messiness of life, love, and the internet, and whatever foolishness we watching, subscribe to Olay and Kenny. If politics is more your thing and where you know me from, subscribe to Illuminati Politics for my State of the Union like addresses on O Squared. And if music is your thing and you want to hear what I think about the latest albums and what I'm getting into, subscribe to Illuminati Extras. Subscribe to whichever corners of the Illuminati verse speak to you, or subscribe to all of them and become a full-time resident. And while you're at it, you can follow me everywhere: Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and Twitter at Illuminati. You can also follow Illuminati Pop and Olay and Chill and Olay and Friends on social media so you never miss a thing. Welcome again to the Illuminati verse. Now go look around a little bit, make yourself at home. If you enjoyed this video, it's your lucky day because there's more where that came from. Click the video being recommended to you on your screen right now and start binge watching Illuminati Pop today.